Erstmal freundlich.
Have you been in business long?
Yes, I opened this shop 30 years ago, along with my late husband David. But the past 10 years I've been running things on my own.
Na, alles klar, der scheint schon eine Weile unter der Erde zu sein.
Don't you feel unsafe being here by yourself so late into the night?
Detective, when you've lived in this part of town as long as I have, it takes quite a lot to scare you.
Okay, die ist knallhart drauf.
Could you give me the details concerning the burglaries?
About 3 weeks ago on Monday, I noticed that my order of Easter lilies was missing. At first, I thought nothing of it. Sometimes certain types of flowers are unavailable or arrive in poor condition. These things happen. Then 2 weeks ago on Wednesday, it happened again. But this time, I noticed something rather odd.
Go on.
Ich möchte übrigens mal dazu sagen, die Vertonung finde ich wirklich genial. Richtig, richtig gut gemacht. Auch grafisch, das passt ja wirklich perfekt. Ist jetzt schade, dass es nicht auf Deutsch ist, aber ganz ehrlich, das ist mit Sicherheit auch eine Kostenfrage. Ich finde schön, dass die Untertitel auf Deutsch sind.
When I opened the shop, there were 6 crowns and 10 shillings on the counter. That's exactly the cost of 2 orders of lilies.
Ein Dieb hat die Pflanzen geklaut und hat die dann bezahlt.
Last Friday, it happened yet again. The lilies were missing, and there was payment for 1 order on the counter.
Und da hat sie sich überhaupt keine Gedanken gemacht. Was soll denn das?
I believe that someone has been breaking into my shop after hours, taking the lilies, and leaving money behind.
Ja, wunderbar.
How unusual.
Oha. Was hatten wir? Ein Hinweis im Notizbuch, ja? Das merken wir uns mal kurz.
So this burglar has been paying for the stolen goods?
That would appear to be the case, yes. I really don't think this could even be considered a crime. That's one of the reasons I didn't bother reporting it to the police.
Jetzt verstehe ich das
And the
auch.
other reasons?
Oh, I think I've already made those quite clear, Detective.
Ja, wir kommen ja eh nicht. Und guck uns doch an, wir sind doch hier.
Have you found any evidence of a break-in?
No, the front door is always locked. My assistant Trevor and I are the only ones with the key.
Are there any other points of access to the building?
The upstairs windows, I suppose, but I make sure to keep them locked, and neither of them have been broken.
Would you allow us to have a look upstairs?
Is that really necessary? I was just about to close up the shop.
It won't take but a moment.
Fine, I suppose you may, but please, don't dally too long.
Ich finde, die ist unglaublich unkooperativ. Wir versuchen ihr zu helfen. Ich habe notiert. Ach, wir kriegen Questen. Alles klar.
Have you noticed any suspicious characters lurking around?
Detective Fordham, this is Chumley. You can't throw a stone without hitting a suspicious character.
Ja, aber in so einem Viertel würde ich vielleicht lieber nicht Steine auf Leute werfen, ne?
And if you've noticed my window, you'd be aware that stones get thrown around quite a bit in this neighborhood.
Wunderbar.
If you're looking for trouble, you're far more likely to find it out there than in here.
Wenn ich Ärger suche, gehe ich auch nicht in den Blumenladen.
I meant if you'd seen anyone out of the ordinary near your shop.
Only the 2 men from the police who entered it tonight. That is most definitely out of the ordinary.
Die hackt auch echt da drauf rum, ne?
You mentioned your assistant has the other shop key. What can you tell me about him?
His name is Trevor Hastings, and he has been working for me for the past 10 years.
Oh, seit ihr Mann verstorben ist.
Do you trust him?
Implicitly. I've known him for ages, and he has been my full-time assistant since shortly after my husband died. You're not suggesting he had anything to do with this, are you?
Nee, der hat ja bloß den anderen Schlüssel und hier wurde nicht eingebrochen.
Not at all. I would like to speak with him, though. Where might I find him?
Gute Frage.
It's Friday, so he should be on his way back from the docks right now. He'll be bringing my flower order within the hour.
Good. We'll meet him here, then.
I suppose I don't really have much of a choice, do I?
I think that's all the information.
All right,
Ja, du warst da wirklich eine Riesenhilfe. Oder mit einem Rechtsklick. Alles klar, so. Gegenwärtiger Fall. Ehre unter Dieben. Im Blumenladen von Mrs. Hanbrook wurde eingebrochen. Wird der Einbrecher zurückkehren oder die Untersuchung des Falls nur eine Formalität? Einen Eingang im 1. Stock finden. Auf Trevor Hastings warten, um mit ihm zu sprechen. Ja, 2 Aufgaben, die machen wir. Hinweise, fehlende Lilien, Eingänge. Verdächtige haben wir noch keinen. Okay, wir haben gar nichts. Ah, ich kann mich mit Doppelklick schnell zu
Got a minute,
Bild.
Bill?
For you, Miles, I've got 5.
Wunderbar.
I've heard of honor among thieves. Have you ever known a thief to pay for stolen goods?
Perhaps conducting normal business is just too boring for him. Do you think he might be doing it for the thrill?
There could be any number of reasons. The best way to find out is to catch the culprit and ask him ourselves. What's your impression of dear old Mrs. Hanbrook?
I like her. Good old-fashioned, tough-as-nails chumley woman. Reminds me of my mother.
Your mother was never quite so stubborn. Why do you suppose she's so reluctant to accept our help?
Wir kennen aber offensichtlich sogar seine Mutter, er kennt den Bruder unserer Freundin, also offensichtlich sind wir echt gute Kumpel.
It's a chum thing, Miles. You wouldn't understand.
Ach, wir sind was Besseres mit einem Silberlöffel geboren.
Let's get back to it.
All right.
Das Fass mache ich jetzt nicht nochmal auf. Wir gehen mal nach oben. Der Arztsaal gefällt mir aber wirklich sehr, sehr gut, muss ich
Interesting
sagen.
choice of decor in here.
Ich finde auch dieses total ungesicherte Licht hier
Perhaps it
einfach.
wasn't always used as a storeroom, although I can understand why it would have been converted.
Ja, ist doch hübsch. Ich möchte nicht wissen, was du heutzutage in der englischen Stadt für so eine Wohnung bezahlst.
Yeah, it is rather drafty in here.
Aha. Fenster. Riegel. Ist wahrscheinlich ein Müsli-Riegel, aber wir gucken gleich mal.
Lamplight City, in all her glory.
Mhm.
This provides a means of escape from the top floor, or access to this window from the ground.
Das ist eine Feuertreppe, guck mal. Alles klar.
The window latch, securely locked.
Ja, blöd. Ich dachte vielleicht hier der Riss. Nee, Ausgang. Aha. Wand. Den Schmerz ab. Kennt ihr die noch?
Interesting. There's a gap between the window and the frame here. No wonder it's so drafty in this room. I wonder.
Ja, ich frage mich auch gerade. Haben wir nichts, um das aufzubrechen?
What are you thinking, Fordham?
Ich kann mit irgendeinem Draht oder so hier durchangeln und...
That it's time for an experiment. I'm going to need a tool, however. Something long and thin should do the trick.
Shouldn't be too hard to find something like that around here.
Aufgabe. Hinweise. Wir kriegen doch gar keine Hinweise. Ja, das habe ich. Hinweise. Oh, Leute, ja, tut mir leid. Die anderen Sachen standen da. Will ein Dieb denn Geld dafür da lassen? Das verstehe ich auch nicht. Beide sind immer abgeschlossen. Nur sie und die Assistent haben einen Schlüssel. Es gibt einen schmalen Spalt zwischen Fenster und Rahmen, durch den es zieht. Ein kleiner und dünner Gegenstand könnte da durchpassen. Das Fenster im ersten Stock führt zu einer Feuertreppe. Aber es ist abgeschlossen. Könnte es sein, dass der Dieb dort hineingekommen ist? Ja, das könnte es. Also hoffe ich.
I've
Gerät.
seen this type of device before. It's a special container for growing plants. Specific temperature and water conditions can be adjusted.
Ja, der Gerät funktioniert auf jeden Fall.
Seems to be empty right now, though. And judging by the dust, it hasn't been used in a long time. If
Oh,
ever.
doch nicht.
It seems Mrs. Hanbrook isn't too fond of steam tech, or just doesn't understand it.
Die zieht ja keine Pflanzen, die kauft ihr offensichtlich auf dem Markt ein.
A young lady. Perhaps a relation of Mrs. Hanbrook?
Vielleicht ist es Mrs.
I can
Hanbrook.
see the resemblance. Sort of.
A rather distinguished-looking gentleman.
Reminds me of Captain Snelling, if he ever smiled.
Okay, der Captain hat keinen Humor.
I don't think this window would serve as a viable means of entry.
Wieso nicht?
It's a nice view, though. You can hardly see the vomit and manure piles on the street from up here.
Kotzhof und Gülle. Da geht einem ja das Herz über.
Unmarked, but if the smell is anything to go by, this is where the flowers are stored when delivered.
I'll keep my distance then.
Ach, er ist ja allergisch, stimmt.
Unmarked.
I'll keep my
Okay,
distance
die sind beide
then.
gleich. Da.
Pastoral landscape. Definitely nowhere near here.
I've never much understood art, but it would be nice to see a place like that in person.
So, jetzt haben wir gleich alles einmal durch und wir haben immer noch...
I would imagine that keeping a consistent temperature in here is important for the flowers.
Hier sind doch gar keine Blumen.
When do you suppose this contraption was last serviced?
Hard to say. Definitely not recently, if the dust buildup is any indication.
Eimer. Nee, brauchen wir auch nicht. Kisten, Fenster. Schade. Gehen wir nochmal kurz zurück. Hotspots eignen sich für neue Interaktionen für... Ah, das mag ich andererseits überhaupt nicht. Ich konnte vorhin Sachen hier nicht anklicken, die ich jetzt anklicken kann. Das heißt, ich muss jetzt alles nochmal durchgehen. Kann ich die irgendwo anzeigen? Die Düsen. Trieb.
Lost in thought again, eh, Fordham?
Oh, der sagt was, wenn wir nicht zu Potte kommen. Ja, aber guck doch mal, hier ist ein Haken. Da auch.
Aha! This hook is exactly what
Aha.
I need.
Siehst du?
Mrs. Hanbrook, may I borrow this hook for a few minutes? It's
Is that so?
Yes, I promise. I'll put it back as soon as I'm done.
Please do, Detective.
Tja. Der Detektiv im Einsatz. Ja, die Aufgabe brauche ich nicht. Ich weiß, was zu tun ist. Hopp, hopp. Nee, so geht es nicht. Wo ist mein Inventar?
Good. Bill, it's time for our experiment.
Ich habe kein
What
Inventar.
is this experiment going to be exactly?
Simple. I'm going to see if this hook can get me inside the shop.
Aha, er nimmt automatisch den Gegenstand. Finde ich
Rather dark out here.
okay.
Watch your step then. This experiment of yours isn't worth a broken neck.
Oh, dann stürzen wir in den Tod. Ende.
I'll be fine. Now then, could you please close and lock the window, Bill?
Na los, Bill, mach dir wenigstens überhaupt mal nützlich. Achso, das... Guck mal, das kann man selber machen. Wahnsinn. Klick.
Well, I'd say this is fairly incontrovertible proof that the building can easily be broken into without arousing suspicion.
Where'd you learn how to do that anyway?
You taught me, remember?
Nah. Are you sure it was me?
Positive. We were a few pints in at the Angel about 5 years ago, and you decided I should learn how to pick locks.
What else have I taught you how to do while drunk?
That would be telling.
Oha, wer weiß, was der uns noch alles eingeschärft hat. Aber gut, ich möchte mal übrigens sagen, dass wir offensichtlich Anti-Bauchredner sind. Wir können unsere Lippen bewegen, ohne was zu sagen. So. Jetzt sagen wir der Alten erstmal Bescheid. Bill geht wieder in seine Schmollecke.
Ah, Trevor.
Alter, alles klar.
Evening, Cecilia. I've got the order ready to bring in.
Und er duzt seine Chefin und ist übrigens total gramgebeugt hier irgendwie reingeschlurft.
Trevor, these are Detectives Fordham and Leger. They say there's been a report about the burglaries, and they're here investigating.
I only did it because I think it's been going on too long. As much as you want to, we can't handle this ourselves.
We can discuss the matter later. In the meantime, the detective would like a word with you.
I'll be needing to bring in the flowers first, if that's all right. Otherwise, some hooligan's likely to run off with them.
My partner will keep an eye on your flowers. Bill, would you mind?
Ah, the glamour of police work.
Ja, seid ihr froh, könnt ihr gleich ein Bier holen.
Now, Mr. Hastings, if I could ask you a few questions?
Go on, then.
Oh, der sieht aber deutlich älter aus als eben gedacht. Oder? Na komm.
What can you tell me about the recent burglaries?
I wish Cecilia had contacted you a lot sooner. She's a damn fine woman. But sometimes I think she'd rather jump in a rose bush than ask for help.
Ach, ich dachte, er hat die Diebstähle zugegeben. Er hat nur zugegeben, dass er die Polizei gerufen hat. Das ist doch absolut okay, gut gemacht.
Had to take matters into my own hands. This needs taken care of, and we can't do it on our own. As anyhow, alls I know is someone's been making off with some flowers and leaving money behind. No idea who it could be, how they're getting in, or why they even bother paying.
Ja, das verstehe ich aber auch nicht.
In my day, if you robbed a place, you did it the right way. It's a sad state of affairs when even burglars don't do their jobs correctly.
Ja, in dieser Stadt ist ja offensichtlich alles verrückt.
Do you have much experience with burglary, Mr. Hastings?
Now, I never said that, detective.
Ja, wir haben dich im Blick, Freundchen.
Have you noticed anyone or anything suspicious around here recently?
Nothing but the usual roughnecks, ragamuffins, and drunkards.
Wie unseren Kollegen zum Beispiel. Ne? Ich möchte nochmal hier darauf hinweisen.
Like I said, it's a real mystery.
Could you walk me through the process of your deliveries?
Of course. There's no great science to it. On Monday, Wednesday, and Friday afternoons, Cecilia gives me her list of flowers to pick up from the wholesalers. I head over to Gascon around sunset when they get their shipment, and I give them her order. They load up the crate, I pay for it, and then I lug it back here.
How long does that take?
Between moving the crate and getting it across the river on the ferry, a couple of hours. Usually the store's closed by then, so I use my key to get in and leave the crate inside for Cecilia to open in the morning. That's all there is to it. Told you it wasn't very complicated.
Klingt jetzt erstmal nicht so schlecht.
Do you ever leave the crate unattended during that time?
No, sir. Never more than a minute. I may be old, but I got good eyes. I'd see if there were anything amiss. Besides that, I check to make sure the crate is still sealed when I drop it off. I'm not about to let Cecilia down by being careless.
Guter Mann.
How long have you been working for Mrs. Hanbrook?
Been about 10 years now. I used to help with deliveries now and then when it was her and David, her husband. But after he passed, she offered to make me her assistant. Unfortunate way to get it, but I needed the work.
Es ist erstmal unglaublich viele Gespräche. Das ist ein ellenlanges Intro, Leute.
Used to be I had a job at one of the airship yards, but they let me go after I was injured by one of those newfangled steam machines.
Ah, die Dampfmaschinen, ne? Sehen romantisch und toll aus, aber machten ihn zum Krüppel.
So, the offer came at a good time. Besides that, Cecilia needed looking after, even though she'd never admit it.
Naja, wir haben dich im Blick, Freundchen. Um Cecilia kümmern.
If I'm being honest, we're both getting a bit long in the tooth. Not sure how much longer we'll be keeping this up, but as long as I'm upright and breathing, I'll be bringing these crates along, even if it is murder on my back.
I admire your work ethic.
I've got a job to do. Not enough people these days seem to respect that.
Ja, Bild zum Beispiel.
Thanks for your time, Mr. Hastings. I'll let you get back to work.
Appreciate it.
Alles klar.
If you don't mind, Detective, I still need to check the crate before I bring it in.
Of course. Thank you.
Na gut, er kann sich abplagen. Bill steht sinnlos auf der Straße rum, da ist er schon.
Learn anything?
Possibly. I may have an idea.
Oh,
Ach so.
you're being cryptic. But if you've got a plan, let's talk about it.